Okay, we're now having a look at the data bars, which we covered earlier on. So remember, these are very automated. I mean, very quick to basically set up. It does it automatically for you. And just to recall, the length of the data bar is dependent on the value of the number in the cell, right? So all you've got these solid fills, right? And then you have the gradient fills. It's effectively the same thing, except that on the gradient fill, the color of each bar just moves from a darker to a lighter color. So it just looks more sort of visually pleasing, but it's effectively the same thing. So those are the data bars. Now you have color scales and icon sets, which actually give us the same information as the data bars, but do it in a slightly different way. So for example, let's assume this I do this particular color scale, right? So what's happening here is that if a number is very high, it goes towards a darker green, right? And so as the number is high, as it increases in value, you can see the shade of the green gets higher. The middle numbers are very clearly in this yellow color, right? So the ones that are in the middle, and then the lowest values are in red. Now, now here when you're looking at it, it's sorted by employee code. If I sort this column by the actuals, so from lowest to highest, you'll actually see it much more clearer. You can see it starts off from the dark red, and then it gets lighter, and then up to a green. So just by looking at the color in the cell, I'm going to sort back again by the employee code, you can immediately get a sense. So you could, for example, say these are in a sort of red danger zone, these are in a sort of middle zone around yellow, and then the greens are obviously very doing quite well. So it's just a different way of looking at it. If I now just to show you, you don't necessarily need to use only these colors, right? So if we go back to our home and we click on the conditional formatting and we say, okay, let's manage the rules, right? So the rules in terms of the current, let's actually put the rules for the whole worksheet. Okay, so because I wasn't on one of those cells, I was actually on this cell, so it didn't show me the rule. When I select current selection, there is no, for cell C1, which I'm on, there is no rule. So that's why it's not showing any of the rules. So I'd have to actually select this worksheet. Now it shows me all the rules on the worksheet, including not just on the cell that I'm on. All right, so let's say we wanted to edit this rule, right? So we're going to edit this rule, and you can see that I've got options here. So I've got a 3-color scale, and it's going from the, as we showed, the red to the yellow to the green, and I can change these colors. So it's saying up to the midway point, 50 percentile, that's going to go yellow. Now, if I wanted to make that white, I could actually do that. Let's say I said okay, and I applied it. You can see it goes from red to a white and then to a green. So you can change these colors, and you don't necessarily only need to use a 3-color scale, although I think it's quite helpful. You could even use a 2-color scale. So you can see that's what the color change goes like. And let's apply that. And you can see you're going from this, there's this intermediate colors over here. But I'm more of I know it's totally up to you. You got to just see which one looks better for you. So you've got 2 colors and 3-color scales in terms of, the color scale routings, right? And again, you don't only have to do it on percentiles, right? So you can say, what do you want your midway point to be? So that's another thing that you could actually, you can actually manually change that, right? So let's assume that we just put in this here as 15,000 as the midway point, and we made it white, right? And I said okay, and I applied it. You can see now that's white. That midway, that 15,000 there is white. That becomes the midway point, and that's a manual midway point. If you actually put all these numbers together, that may not be an actual, range, the 50th percentile, which statistically would be the midway point. Although it's pretty close in this example. But let's say I wanted the midway point to be 4510, right? So let's say 4,500, and you'll see how this would actually change. So we basically go back to, remember, I'm on the data tab because of the sorting, so I don't see the conditional formatting. Just remember, you have to be on the home tab. Click on there. Let's go and change that rule. Okay, so that I'm on the selection, and I go and edit the rule, and let's assume I made this 4,500, and I said okay, and I applied it. You can see the red now only goes up to that point, that becomes white, and then it starts going towards the green. So you can actually manually change what you want that midway point to be. And remember this, so let's just go back into it. Let's just edit it. Right, so you've got an option, and remember that's based on an actual number. You can base it on percentages. So it's saying the 50 percentile is the one. You could change it to a different percent, or you could even actually use percentiles. So percent and percentiles are different. So this looks at the number. So the percentile is dealing more with the number of items. So, if there's 40 items, then, 20 of them would be at the 50th, the 20th item would be at the 50th percentile. All right, so you can actually obviously play around with these on your actual data and get a good feel for how you want to actually do conditional formatting using the color scales.